Chapter 61-29. I get it. It's not a big deal. Lin Yi smiled faintly. He could understand what the heads of the families were thinking. If they sent someone important to congratulate them, they wouldn't offend Lin Yi and the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce too much. If they didn't show up, the ancient families wouldn't say anything either. It was a safe way to not offend either side. Thinking about it carefully, there was nothing to criticize. Lin Yi wasn't that narrow-minded. Even if he was angry, his target would be the ancient families. What was the saying? Today you ignore me. Tomorrow I'll make you too high for me. One day they would regret looking down on the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. Okuda Ba didn't say anything more. After today he would leave Zhongdao. It was rare for him to get together with his second brother. It was good to take this opportunity to talk more. After a while, Wei Xinjin came upstairs to report that almost all the guests had arrived. He invited Lin Yi and the two Okuda brothers to go downstairs to attend the ceremony. So the three of them went downstairs together. The so-called opening ceremony was not too complicated. It was even simpler than the opening of a company in the secular world. However, it was still lively. Anyway, everyone gathered together to have a good time and announced the establishment of the Chamber of Commerce to let everyone know that there was such a thing. Yo, it's quite lively. I didn't expect that a trader of the Universal Chamber of Commerce could become the president of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. It can be seen that the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce isn't that great. As soon as the opening ceremony ended, Ping Jianshan walked in with several people from the Universal Chamber of Commerce. He had a sneer on his face and his words were sarcastic. Lin Yi's face darkened and his eyes narrowed slightly. It seemed that the previous lesson wasn't enough. This guy forgot the pain after the wound healed and came to provoke them again. He chose to do it at the opening ceremony of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. Who gave him the courage? Liang Jingru? Well, no one would understand this joke. Lin Yi could only think about it in his heart. Anyway, it was just a small role. He didn't plan to show up and let Shangwani deal with it. Since the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce had been handed over to Shangwani, it seemed that Lin Yi was too incompetent to deal with such a small problem. Ping Jianshan, are you here on behalf of the Wantong Trade Association or on your own? Shangwani was not angry at all. He calmly took 2 steps forward and asked Ping Jianshan. From a personal point of view, Shangwani didn't want to send an invitation to the Universal Chamber of Commerce. However, from the standpoint of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce, he still had to send the invitation. It didn't matter whether the Universal Chamber of Commerce sent someone or not. Shangwani didn't care when he didn't see anyone from the Universal Chamber of Commerce. He didn't expect him to come out and make trouble until now. If Ping Jianshan said that he came on behalf of the Universal Chamber of Commerce, it was tantamount to making it clear that he wanted to fight against the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce to the death. If it was just his personal behavior, Shangwani would not hesitate to ask someone to throw him out. On the occasion where celebrities gathered in Zhongdao, a clown like Ping Jianshan couldn't do whatever he wanted. Throwing him out was already giving him face. If he met someone with a bad temper, it was not strange for him to be killed directly. I'm here on behalf of the Universal Chamber of Commerce to congratulate the establishment of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. Master Lin, this is a small congratulatory gift. Please don't mind it. Ping Jianshan's face suddenly changed, and he smiled as he cupped his hands at Lin Yi. It wasn't exactly respectful, but it was still polite. Since Ping Jianshan had changed his attitude, Shangwani could only smile and ask someone to accept the congratulatory gift. As for Ping Jianshan deliberately ignoring him and greeting Lin Yi, he didn't care. Lin Yi looked at Ping Jianshan calmly. He didn't want to talk to this guy at all. For this kind of person who was obviously looking for trouble, it was impossible for him to be polite. Ping Jianshan didn't expect that Lin Yi dared not to give him any face on this occasion. But when he recalled Lin Yi's horror, he didn't dare to lose his temper. He could only smile, touch his nose and turn his head. Hey, aren't these the things sold by the Central Chamber of Commerce? Why does the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce sell the same goods as the Central Chamber of Commerce? Ping Jianshan pretended to have just found out and exclaimed loudly, as if everyone here was blind except for him. Ping Jianshan, what are you trying to say? Shangwani's expression was somewhat unfriendly. It was the opening day of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. He didn't want anything unpleasant to happen. But if Ping Jianshan kept provoking him, he might have to take action forcefully. Otherwise, if he swallowed the insult in front of so many families and sects, they would think that the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce could be bullied at will. I just want to ask, is the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce affiliated with the Central Chamber of Commerce? It shouldn't be, right? What is Master Lin's status? How could he be a lackey of the Central Chamber of Commerce? So, are you guys counterfeiting the goods of the Central Chamber of Commerce? Ping Jianshan looked like he had found out the truth. His eyes darted around, trying to provoke the suspicion of all the families present. If a Chamber of Commerce counterfeited others' goods, it was basically equivalent to destroying its reputation. Not to mention doing business, it would be a problem for it to survive. Of course, this situation would only occur in some exclusive monopolized products, such as the technological products of the secular world of the Central Chamber of Commerce. If it was just elixirs and props that everyone had, then it couldn't be called counterfeiting. Shangwani looked like he was looking at an idiot. He stretched out his finger and drew a circle in the air. With a slightly sarcastic smile, he said, Ping Jianshan, do you think everyone here is an idiot? Or are you the only smart person in the world who can see things that others can't? His words were a little harsh. Ping Jianshan's back was in a cold sweat. He had offended so many important figures in Zhongdao. Not to mention that he was only the executive vice president of the Universal Chamber of Commerce. Even the entire Universal Chamber of Commerce could be uprooted. After all, compared with the forces of the entire Zhongdao, the Universal Chamber of Commerce was nothing. Shangwani, don't change the topic. Is that what I meant? We are all smart people. Don't think that you can fool everyone with a few provocative words. Ping Jianshan didn't dare to be negligent. He quickly raised his voice to clarify. I think that's what you meant. What? Are you trying to show off your superiority as a smart person in front of me, Okuda-ba? As a good brother of Lin Yi, Okuda-ba, of course, had to stand up and support the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce at this time. His calm words directly made Ping Jianshan blush. Chapter 6130. Captain Okuda, you've misunderstood. What I meant was that the Central Chamber of Commerce might be dissatisfied with the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce selling these things. After all, only they have these things. If the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce can't explain the source of the goods, I'm afraid there will be some problems. I'm just being kind, really. In front of Okuda, Ping Jianshan's aura plummeted, and he became more careful with his words. However, the meaning behind his words was still trying to discredit the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. After he finished speaking, many people looked at the representative from the Central Chamber of Commerce. In fact, many people felt that it was strange, but they didn't want to mention it. Since Ping Jianshan stood up for them, everyone was happy to find out the truth. The representative sent by the Central Chamber of Commerce was just a small fry. He didn't know the relationship between Lin Yi and the Central Chamber of Commerce. Being stared at by so many people, he couldn't help but feel nervous. Thinking about it carefully, the higher-ups didn't seem to care much about the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sent a small fry like him. However, they also told him not to offend Lin Yi. This was a little awkward, and it was better to handle it carefully. Yes, the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce's goods also come from our Central Chamber of Commerce. As for whether there are their own imitations, I will go back and report to the higher-ups and investigate. Today, we are all here to congratulate the opening of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce, so let's not dwell on the details, okay? The representative from the Central Chamber of Commerce said a few ambiguous words, then lightly changed the topic. Everyone who came to attend the ceremony had a higher status than him. He shouldn't have said this, but considering his status as the representative of the Central Chamber of Commerce, no one stood up to object. Ping Jianshan was a little dumbfounded. If even the Central Chamber of Commerce didn't support his words, then he would really be courting death. The Universal Chamber of Commerce planned to use this matter to form an alliance with the Central Chamber of Commerce to suppress the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. Based on the estimation of the Universal Chamber of Commerce, the Central Chamber of Commerce was currently locked in a fierce battle with the Hong Chamber of Commerce. If they took the initiative to extend an olive branch, they would at least not reject it. Both sides would benefit from working together, so what reason was there not to cooperate? Ping Jianshan glanced at the warden and cursed in his heart. He must have been sent by the Central Chamber of Commerce. This small fry has no right to make decisions. He should have informed the higher-ups first. The current situation was a little awkward. He could only temporarily give up on dealing with the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce and look for another opportunity in the future. Taking advantage of the Central Chamber of Commerce's deacon's words, Shangwani calmly invited everyone to visit the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce, as if nothing had happened. Ping Jianshan was treated like air. He did not even look at him when he walked past him. Lin Yi smiled slightly. Although Shangwani did not show much of his ability to control the situation, it was still over without any trouble. From his performance, It seemed that he was more than qualified to be the president of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. The opening ceremony was almost over. The place where the guests were invited was a restaurant near the Tiandan Pavilion. After Shang Wani brought everyone around for a while, he politely led most of the guests to the restaurant. Other than the Universal Chamber of Commerce and the Central Chamber of Commerce, which were not easy to deal with, the rest of the guests happily went to the restaurant for the banquet. Eating was not the most important thing. The most important thing was to take the opportunity to build relationships and network. As the behind-the-scenes owner of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce, Lin Yi naturally had to attend. However, he, the Okuda brothers and a few of his close friends stayed behind. It would not be too late to go there later. While they were talking, a stunning beauty appeared at the entrance of the Tiandan Pavilion. Whether it was her appearance or temperament, she was not inferior to the Tiandan Pavilion's proprietress, Tian Chan or Sydney. Without waiting for the receptionist to greet her, she walked directly to Lin Yi. Why is she here? Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He turned to look at Ho Guanqi and saw that he was also at a loss. It seemed that he did not expect to see her here. Master Li Zhao, are you also here to congratulate the opening of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce? Okuda brothers cupped their fists from afar and took the initiative to greet her. Needless to say, the only young woman who could make them take the initiative to greet her was the chief alchemist of the Alchemy Hall, Li Zhaoyi. In the invitation list made by Shang Wani, Li Zhaoyi, who had some friendship with Lin Yi, was naturally not left out. However, when the invitation was sent yesterday, it was not directly delivered to her. Since she did not come before, they thought that she would not come. Okuda Island Master, Captain Okuda. Li Zhaoyi bowed with a plain face, and then nodded to greet Ho Guanqi, Kai Zhongyang, and the others who followed her. Then she asked, the opening of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce? Was it established by Lin Yi? Everyone was stunned. After all this time, she did not come to congratulate the opening of the Chamber of Commerce. She did not even know that there was such a thing. After Li Zhaoyi finished speaking, she realized that her question seemed to be a little inappropriate, so she smiled and nodded perfunctorily. Yes, I'm here to congratulate the opening of the Chamber of Commerce. Lin Yi, I wish you a prosperous business. Lin Yi was speechless. There was no sincerity in her words at all. Probably no one present would believe her. Whoever believed her would be stupid. Thank you. By the way, what else did you come to find me for? Lin Yi did not beat around the bush with her. He did not know what this strange girl was going to do. Seeing that he was going to the South Continent today, if it was not a particularly troublesome matter, he would help her if he could. Brother Lin, let's go over there to drink tea and chat first. You can come by yourself later. Okuda Ba signaled the others to leave quickly, but there was an inexplicable ambiguous feeling in their eyes. Lin Yi saw it and was secretly amused. It was obviously not correct to say that there was no relationship between him and Li Zhaoyi, but it did not seem appropriate to say that there was a relationship between them. It was quite difficult to define. Li Zhaoyi's pretty face blushed slightly. She was just a little cold. She could still understand the eyes of these guys, but it was not easy for her to distinguish anything. She could only force herself to be calm and maintain that indifferent look. When Okuda Ba and the others all left the Tiandan Pavilion, Lin Yi smiled and said, "You don't have to care about them." "What's the matter?" Li Zhaoyi stared hard at Lin Yi. Okuda Ba and the others did not say anything. What did he mean by, "don't have to care about them"? He really touched my sore spot. Lin Yi coughed dryly. He felt that when he faced this strange girl, he was indeed a little abnormal. It was better to say less. Chapter 61-31. After sitting down, it was Lin Yi who broke the awkwardness and spoke first. If he continued to remain silent, he would start to feel awkward. "Well, junior sister, what brings you here today? You're not going to refine pills again, are you?" As soon as the words left his mouth, Lin Yi regretted it. Would Li Zhaoyi think that he was flirting with her? The last time the two of them worked together to refine pills, everyone was well aware of what happened. Saying that was tantamount to bringing up the past again. Sure enough, when Li Zhaoyi heard that, her pretty face suddenly turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant, her face looked like it was about to drip blood. However, there was not much shame in her two big eyes, but more anger. "Oh, by the way, junior sister, have you heard from Master recently? Is it possible that he will be back soon?" Lin Yi smiled bitterly to himself and quickly changed the topic, although it was a little stiff. "No." Li Zhaoyi replied coldly and stiffly. After a pause, she continued, "I came to you this time because I need your help with something." Lin Yi breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. It seemed that this weird girl had adjusted her emotions. Perhaps she did not continue to fly into a rage because she needed his help. However, it did not matter. It was fine as long as she let go of the mistake just now. Junior sister, if you need my help, just tell me. I will definitely help if I can. Lin Yi did not dare to guarantee anything, so he still left some leeway in his words. It was because Li Zhaoyi could always find something that he could not do, so it was safer to be conservative. Do you have time these days? I want to invite you to go to a place with me. It may take about a month or two. Li Zhaoyi did not stand on ceremony with Lin Yi, and directly put forward her request. Before coming to look for Lin Yi, Li Zhaoyi should have already thought it through, so she spoke very naturally, as if she was only waiting for Lin Yi to agree to set off directly. Lin Yi frowned slightly. 1 to 2 months was too long. If it was 3 to 5 days he could still delay it. But after 1 to 2 months he would be ready to set off for the East Continent. What about the South Continent? He did not dare to pin all his hopes on Languza. This guy was definitely good at eating, fighting, acting cool. How Zili and the other two were more reliable when it came to spying. Unfortunately, the leader this time was Languza. Even if a reliable person followed him, he would become somewhat unreliable. Therefore, Lin Yi from the South Continent had to make a trip in person. Is it very difficult? Li Zhaoyi saw that Lin Yi did not answer but frowned and suddenly became a little unhappy. I just want you to accompany me to a place for a month or two. Do you have to be so difficult? Junior sister, it's not that I don't want to help. It's just that after the matter here today, I have to set off for the South Continent. This matter is quite urgent. It's too long to delay it for a month or two. If it's just 3 to 5 days, then it's not a problem. Lin Yi waved his hand and decided to tell the truth. This was something that he had promised Shanghai Tianhua, and he had to do it no matter what. If Li Zhaoyi had made an appointment with Lin Yi on the far north island, he would definitely consider rearranging the time and itinerary. You're going to the South Continent today? Why didn't you tell me in advance? Li Zhaoyi looked stunned, but she was not unhappy after being rejected. Lin Yi was speechless. Why did I tell you that I was going to the South Continent? Originally, it was to inquire about the information of the center in the South Continent. Except for the few most trusted people around him, even Hou Guanqi, Kai Zhongyang, and the others did not know so as not to leak the news and alert the center. Wouldn't it be crazy to specially go to the pill hall to tell you? Li Zhaoyi suddenly smiled, waved her hand and said, well, this matter is not important. In fact, the place I want you to accompany me is in the South Continent. Going back and forth to the South Continent, including the time delayed, is about a month or two. Since your original destination is the South Continent, this time can naturally be ignored. After you get there, it won't take too much of your time. You also want to go to the South Continent? Lin Yi shook his head with a wry smile. This weird girl did not make it clear earlier, causing him to deliberately refuse once. Not to mention that he could not refuse now, he reckoned that Li Zhaoyi might not appreciate it even if he agreed. Yes, the place I want to go is in the South Continent. This time it's on the way. You have nothing to say, right? Li Zhaoyi showed a rare look of pride as if she was happy to see Lin Yi being defeated. Since it's on the way, let's go together. Is it okay to leave tonight? Lin Yi did not argue with Li Zhaoyi and quickly settled the matter. No problem. Aren't you going to ask me what I'm going to do in the South Continent? Li Zhaoyi couldn't help but ask. Was Lin Yi really not curious at all? Oh, little junior sister, what are you going to do in the South Continent? Lin Yi readily followed her advice and immediately cooperated with her. Li Zhaoyi suddenly became angry. Why was this attitude so hateful? If she didn't know that she could not beat him, she really wanted to beat him up. I have a clue of an ancient relic here. It is said that it was left by an alchemy master. There are many treasures in alchemy, so I want to go and have a look. For the sake of my master, I will take you with me. Li Zhaoyi glared at Lin Yi with hatred, and then told him the purpose of going to the South Continent. Didn't you come to me for help? How did it become you taking me with you? Lin Yi smiled slightly, deliberately teasing Li Zhaoyi. This weird girl was quite arrogant, and he would feel sorry for himself if he didn't tease her. I am taking you with me, and it is for the sake of my master. Li Zhaoyi emphasized her tone, and at the same time she widened her eyes, indicating that she would not accept Lin Yi's refutation. Okay. You can take me with you, thank you. Feeling the strong murderous intent in her eyes, Lin Yi wisely did not continue to tease this weird girl, and asked about the relic. You said that the ancient relic was left by an alchemy master. Is there any evidence? Besides you, does anyone else know about it? To be honest, Lin Yi was also very curious about the relic of this alchemy master. Not long ago he had just gone with the will of heaven to the relic of a cultivator of the battle art of creation, and as a result Han Jingjing took in a 10,000-year-old tortoise as a spirit puppet. Could it be that the relic of the South Continent was deliberately left behind to fish again? Was there also a 10,000-year-old alchemy master's spirit inside that was ready to take over? Of course, even if it was really a trap, Linny was not afraid. He was best at dealing with spirits as long as there were good things inside. Chapter 6132. Li Xiaoyi's identity was extremely respectable. Not only was she the head refiner, but she was also Zhang Liju's personal disciple. In terms of qualifications, Hou Guanqi couldn't compare to her. Jing Dongjue and the others know as well? Linny frowned. This was the bad thing about the pill hall. Zhang Liju, this cheap master, wasn't here, and even if Jing Dongjue was the most powerful vice head, even if he suffered a lot in the extreme North Island, it didn't shake his foundation. Plus, the automatic furnaces of the Yao sects were selling like hotcakes these days, and Jing Dongjue gained a lot of glory as well. His position in the pill hall was becoming more and more stable. Jing Dongjue knows that this time, that annoying guy from House Zheng will be going to Nanzhou. Other than that, there are a few other high-level members of the pill hall who might be going, but they haven't been decided yet. I don't want to go with them, so I asked for your help. I want to enter the ruins and it's a bit difficult to go alone. Li Xiaoyi was very frank. As long as Linny wanted to know, she would tell him everything in detail. Linny nodded faintly. He didn't want to argue whether it was Li Xiaoyi bringing him or him bringing Li Xiaoyi. The key was that House Zheng was involved, and he wouldn't be at ease if he didn't accompany Li Xiaoyi. So many people from the pill hall are going. It seems like they're determined to get the ruins. Is it okay for you to bring me there alone? Linny asked casually. In fact, he was thinking that with Li Xiaoyi by his side, even if the center found out that he was going to Nanzhou, he would have a reasonable excuse. When he needed to gather information in Nanzhou, he could wear red dust manifestation and change his identity to move in the dark. Not only would there be no conflict between the two, but there might even be unexpected rewards. Don't worry. Nothing will happen to the person I'm bringing along. Plus, the things in the ruins don't have to belong to anyone. We're all from the pill hall and it's up to our own destinies. At most, we'll just have to contribute one portion to the pill hall. Li Xiaoyi raised her chin looking very proud. She did have the confidence to say something like this. After all, her identity was there, and even Jing Dongjue wouldn't dare be presumptuous in front of her. That's settled then. We'll set off tonight. Let's go eat something first, shall we? Linny stood up and invited Li Xiaoyi to the restaurant for dinner. After such a long delay, the other side was probably waiting for him, the behind-the-scenes boss, to appear. Forget about eating. I didn't expect you to set off for the South Continent so soon, so I have to go back and pack up first. When you're done here, come to the pill hall to find me. Li Xiaoyi shook her head. She had no interest in banquets and socializing, so she didn't need to think about it and directly refused. Linny naturally would not force her. After accompanying her out of the Tiandan pavilion, they went their separate ways. The Dan Hall and the restaurant happened to be in two different directions, and this time they did not go the same way. When they arrived at the restaurant, sure enough, everyone who came was waiting for Linny. When the Chamber of Commerce opened just now, he didn't say much. If he didn't say a few words now, it seemed that no one was going to eat. Everyone, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to support the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. I'm very grateful. I won't say too many polite words. In the future, I still need friends here to do me the favor and support the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. Here, on behalf of President Shang Wani and all the staff of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce, I thank you all again. Linny said a few simple words. Anyway, they were all polite words. He said it casually and the others just listened. He was just going through the motions and was happy. Master Lin is too polite. It's our honor to be invited by the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. In the future, we still need Master Lin and the Chamber of Commerce to take care of us. An elder of a small family stood up enthusiastically to express his support. Although Lin Yi hadn't seen him before, he had a good impression of the first person who stood up. Well said. Master Lin can establish the Chamber of Commerce. It's a blessing for all of us in the Middle Island. If we don't support Master Lin, who else can we support? Some people who didn't want to be left behind also stood up hurriedly to express that they were on Lin Yi's side. Then this kind of situation became more and more frequent. Anyway, the people sitting here were basically people who wanted to be on good terms with Lin Yi. Everyone helped him, everyone helped him. Although the leaders of the various sects didn't come, it was obviously not wrong to show enough kindness to Lin Yi. As for those who were really close to Lin Yi, such as Kai Zhongyang of the Five Elements Commerce, Hou Guanqi of the Dan Hall, Wei Xinjin and the elders of the Snowsword faction, and so on, they didn't come out to express their support first. Because everyone knew their relationship with Lin Yi, it wouldn't be good for them to stand up for him. Lin Yi said a few more polite words, and then the banquet officially began. He sat beside Okuda Zhou and Okuda Dam and whispered to each other. Brother Lin, your growth is really too fast. From now on, it's your turn to take care of me. Okuda Zhou waited for Lin Yi to sit down and said half jokingly and half seriously. He also raised his glass to toast Lin Yi. Brother Okuda, you're treating me like an outsider. Don't say that I don't have much ability. Even if I really grow up with the relationship between you and me as brothers, what else do you need to say? Lin Yi smiled slightly, raised his glass and said humbly. Originally, Okuda Zhou had always respected Lin Yi, but it wasn't as obvious as it was now. Could even be said that his attitude was very low. It was probably because he heard about the things that happened on the extreme North Island. Not to mention that Lin Yi was valued by the Li family's sea-splitting stage old monster Li Lin. Just his achievements in fighting against the sea beast tide was enough for Okuda Zhou to be willing to put down his pride and make friends with Lin Yi. The acting island master of the Middle Island sounded very glorious, but in the ancient families, it was just a spokesperson on the surface. Inside the family it was not a core. Those ancestors of the sea-splitting stage would hardly pay attention to such a spokesperson. Lin Yi, with his own strength, had obtained far more attention than Okuda Zhou in the ancient families. To be honest, he really envied Lin Yi from the bottom of his heart. That's enough, second brother. Brother Lin isn't so pretentious. We've been through life and death together. It's not something that can be said clearly. It's fine as long as you know it in your heart. Okuda Ba waved his hand casually, interrupting the pleasantries between Lin Yi and Okuda Zhou. He raised his glass and the three people raised their heads and smiled. As the president of the Chamber of Commerce, Shang Wani was busy shuttling back and forth between the tables. So Lin Yi didn't need to appear in person. He just sat there and chatted with the others. Seeing that it was almost time, he said goodbye and quietly left the restaurant with Tian Chan and Sydney. He took out the UFO and flew to the island where the wormhole was located. Chapter 6133. The Chamber of Commerce is managed by President Shang Wani. It doesn't really matter if the two of us are there or not. Why don't we accompany you to the southern continent this time? Tian Chan's eyes darted around, and she suggested going to the southern continent with Lin Yi. That won't do. Let's not talk about whether you guys will affect my operation if you go to the southern continent. I can't do without the two of you. Jing Jing is focused on studying the wormhole, so you guys have to cooperate with her. Jing Jing can't be counted on to transport the goods, so you guys have to worry about it. Lin Yi's words made sense. The wormhole was the top secret at the moment, and only Tian Chan and Sydney knew about it. If it were someone else, he wouldn't be at ease. If Han Jingjing could figure out how to destroy the center's wormhole exit, the center's good days would really come to an end. By then, the island would be even more important, so the fewer people who knew about it, the safer it would be. It was a pity that Tian Xing had been in seclusion and had not come out. Otherwise, he would have been able to focus on his cultivation and protect Han Jingjing. In addition, Wang Ba was here. With a senior who cultivated the creation battle art personally guiding him, Tian Xing's cultivation speed of the creation battle art might have been faster. Even though the will of heaven wanted to walk his own path, and Wang Ba's creation battle art cultivation did not have much reference value, it was definitely better to study and learn from each other than in isolation. This kind of face-to-face communication was completely different from just looking at cultivation experience. Yes, we will cooperate with Jing Jing. The wormhole exit is the foundation of the Chamber of Commerce, so it's more suitable for us to stay. Sydney nodded gently. Although she wanted to go to the southern continent with Lin Yi, since he needed her to stay, she would stay. Tian Chan snorted and wrinkled her nose. Since you don't want us to go with you, do you have someone else in mind? For example, the Pill Hall's Li Zhaoyi who came to find you. Lin Yi broke into a sweat. A woman's sixth sense was really terrifying. He had not said anything, but she could guess it immediately. However, it seemed that he didn't want them to go to the South Continent because of Li Zhaoyi. If he didn't explain it clearly, the two of them would definitely be unhappy. Li Zhaoyi is indeed going to the South Continent, but she is not going with me. Instead, the Alchemy Hall got the news that there is a relic of an ancient alchemist in the South Continent. She came to me for help to explore it. I happen to be going to the Southern Continent, and I'm also interested in the ruins, so I agreed to accompany her to have a look. Lin Yi briefly explained the matter and didn't intend to hide it. So that's how it is. Alright, seeing that you're quite honest, I won't argue with you. But if there's a next time, you must come with us. Tian Chan didn't pester Lin Yi too much. Anyway, they were already used to Lin Yi having another female confidant from time to time. What's more, the Heaven Stage Island had always been a place where the strong were respected. As long as you were strong enough, no one would interfere no matter how many lovers you had. Tian Chan, how did you guess that Li Zhaoyi would go to the South Continent with me? Don't tell me it's a sixth sense, a woman's intuition or something like that. Lin Yi nodded with a smile as a promise and then asked curiously. Yes, it's intuition. Do you think I'm eavesdropping on you talking about love? Tian Chan rolled her eyes at Lin Yi. Even if she wanted to eavesdrop, she couldn't hide it from Lin Yi's perception. What's more, how could she do this kind of thing? Not really. I just want to say that your intuition is quite good. By the way, why do you sound jealous? Lin Yi controlled the flying saucer to land on the island and casually joked with Tian Chan. Tian Chan giggled and said, Why are you jealous? If you talk nonsense again, I'll kick you. What Tian Chan means is that we're both floating in a sea of jealousy. Why should we be jealous over such a small thing? Sydney covered her mouth and snickered, then teased him. As they joked, the matter of Li Zhaoyi was officially put aside. After putting away the flying saucer, Lin Yi brought the two of them to the exit of the wormhole. Han Jingjing was still studying the wormhole with all her attention while Wang Ba was sorting out the goods that were sent from the secular world. In fact, he could just use the storage ring to store them, but Han Jingjing felt that he was too free, so she gave him something to do so that he would not think too much. Boss Lin Yi, you're here. Seeing the three of them coming in, Wang Ba quickly went up and greeted them with a bow and a nod. After being taught a lesson by Lin Yi twice, Wang Ba was completely traumatized by him. The extent of the trauma was so huge that it was basically incalculable. Brother Lin Yi, is everything done over there? When Han Jingjing heard Wang Ba, she lifted her head and greeted Tian Chan and Sydney with a smile. Then, she asked about the opening of the Chamber of Commerce. Yes, the Chamber of Commerce has officially opened. The business on the first day is quite good. Is there any progress on your side? Lin Yi smiled and walked to Han Jingjing's side. He looked at her laptop screen. Unfortunately, Lin Yi did not understand anything on the screen at all, so it made no difference whether he looked at it or not. Yes, regarding the wormhole, I can't destroy the exit in the center yet. However, I found something special about the wormhole. Brother Lin Yi, look, this is a small device that I just made. As long as it's here, when using the wormhole, it can't return to its original state after it disintegrates into particles. Han Jingjing swiped on the table twice and found a black round piece the size of a fingernail from the pile of bits and pieces. She placed it on her palm like she was presenting a treasure and showed it to Lin Yi. Lin Yi was slightly stunned. He did not understand at that moment. What exactly could this black round piece be used for? Was it meaningful for them to destroy the teleportation item? Han Jingjing slapped her forehead and said with a smile, Brother Lin Yi, do you not understand what this thing is used for? I'm sorry, I didn't make it clear. Before Lin Yi could speak, Han Jingjing turned around and typed a series of commands on the laptop keyboard. Then a 3D drawing appeared on the screen. Lin Yi could understand it. It was an automatic alchemy furnace. It seemed like Jingjing had designed a new automatic alchemy furnace to fight against the famed medicine sect. Brother Lin Yi, I designed a new automatic alchemy furnace while I was researching the wormhole. After it's made, there's no need for an alchemist. As long as a cultivator inserts their vital qi, they can refine pills on their own. However, the level of the pills isn't high. The upper limit is yellow level rank 5, which is the same as what the famed medicine sect sells. Han Jingjing pointed at the 3D drawing on the laptop and gave a simple introduction to Lin Yi. Chapter 6134. As long as Lin Yi bro thinks it's enough, it's good. The only thing I'm worried about is that once the automatic furnace is sold, those refiners who worked so hard to learn would have no way to survive. Is that really the right thing to do? Han Jingjing sighed softly. Naturally, the things she made were for the public's convenience, but this way those refiners who were supposed to be noble might lose their ability to survive. Yellow-ranked level 5 elixirs were widely used on the Heavenly Island, and alchemists who could refine yellow-ranked level 5 elixirs, other than the East Continent, were all highly sought after by all the sects on the other islands. With an automatic alchemy furnace, an ordinary cultivator would be able to refine a yellow level 5 elixir just by injecting true qi into it. What would they need these alchemists for? Because of that, Han Jingjing did feel a little guilty, but she was more worried that it would cause trouble for Lin Yi. The appearance of the automatic furnace would affect the huge organization known as the Hall of Elixirs. Not counting Zhang Liju, the head refiner of the Hall of Elixirs, Li Zhaoyi, was barely a Mystic Level 2 refiner, and the rest didn't even have Mystic Level 1. Golden Level 5 refiners were definitely the pillars of the Hall of Elixirs. Wouldn't the Hall of Elixirs hold a grudge against Tiandan Pavilion Merchant Association for selling the automatic furnace? Lin Yi smiled faintly. Han Jingjing didn't need to say it out loud to understand what she was thinking, but it wasn't a big deal. Jing, you think automatic alchemy furnaces will affect the survival of alchemists, but I don't think so. A yellow rank 5th level alchemist only needs to put in a little more effort to break through this limit. Therefore, selling automatic alchemy furnaces will encourage more alchemists to pursue higher ranks and not be satisfied with the current situation. Lin Yi's words made sense, but there was a precondition, and that was if Han Jingjing didn't upgrade the furnace. If there were upgrades in the future and normal people could make higher level pills, then there really wouldn't be a need for refiners to exist anymore. Did Han Jingjing have the ability to upgrade the furnace? Just look at Lin Yi's Shenong Cauldron and you'd know the answer. Big brother Lin Yi's words make sense. Forget it, Jing doesn't need to worry about those alchemists anymore. Han Jingjing smiled and waved her hand. As long as Lin Yi said there was no problem, she was relieved. Besides, our automatic alchemy furnace still has some limitations. The materials inside need to be changed regularly so that ordinary cultivators can practice alchemy. It can also be considered as increasing the cost of alchemy for these people. Jing, you made this little thing to prevent the automatic pill furnace from being teleported back to the secular world, right? Lin Yi picked up the black disc and realized. The automatic alchemy furnace of the medicine sect must have been given to them by the center, and the things in the center were definitely derived from the automatic alchemy furnace that Han Jingjing had sold in the secular world. In this aspect, Han Jingjing was definitely an existence that had always been imitated and never surpassed. When a new automatic alchemy furnace appeared, the center would definitely study it immediately. Even if the central base of Heavenly Island had a technological laboratory, it would most likely not be too advanced. They would probably still have to send the samples back to the secular world. Han Jingjing made this black disc in preparation for a rainy day. If the center could send the automatic alchemy furnace back to the secular world, they could consider themselves impressive if they could replicate it on Heavenly Island. Big brother Lin Yi is so amazing. You guessed it right away. Han Jingjing smiled and clapped her hands. Then she pointed at the black disc in Lin Yi's hand and said, actually, in addition to destroying the recombination of particles during teleportation, this thing also has an anti-hacking function. No matter who it is, if they want to forcefully disassemble the automatic alchemy furnace, this device will destroy the program inside and completely reformat the system. It looks like it won't be so easy for the center to make a copy this time. Jing, is the automatic alchemy furnace troublesome? Can it be mass-produced? Lin Yi knew that the medicine sect had a sufficient supply of automatic alchemy furnaces. If Han Jingjing could only make a dozen or 20 of them, they probably would not be able to fight against the medicine sect. It's not a big problem. Wang Ba has a forging pool here. He can help cast the furnace's outer embryo because it's relatively simple. There's no need to worry about time. Jing will get Brother Dafeng to purchase the sophisticated technological components from the secular world and teleport them over. Finally, we just need to assemble it. Prepare for a few days and we'll be able to mass-produce it soon. Han Jingjing had already calculated this, so she explained to Lin Yi in an orderly manner. It doesn't matter if it's a few days late. Jing, you don't have to be too anxious. Take care of your body. Tian Chan and Sydney will help with this. After the production, we'll hand it over to Shang Wani to arrange the sales. Lin Yi smiled. He had already decided to go to the South Continent today. Otherwise, he would like to see the automatic alchemy furnaces and the confrontation with his own eyes. Boss Lin Yi, look, I'm going to help Master cast the furnace. Although it's just a rough embryo, it's still very draining. In my current state, I'll delay Master's business. Wang Ba felt that he could be of some use again, so he quickly came over and said with a flattering smile. Although he did not say it explicitly, everyone knew that this guy was begging Lin Yi to heal his primordial spirit. Or rather, he was begging Lin Yi to give him a few drops of Black Sea soul-condensing liquid. Lin Yi glanced at Wang Ba, and this guy suddenly felt a chill in his heart. He could not help but shrink back, and the shadow in his heart seemed to be increasing. I'll leave some Black Sea soul-condensing liquid in your master's hands. Perform well. Lin Yi warned Wang Ba in a calm tone. With the previous lesson, he would not waste the Black Sea soul-condensing liquid to completely heal this guy's primordial spirit. Yes. I'll definitely perform well. Don't worry, Boss Lin Yi. Wang Ba immediately nodded and agreed. He was satisfied with the result. Han Jingjing was not Lin Yi. Although she was extremely smart, it was only in the field of research. It was possible to trick her into giving him a few more drops of Black Sea soul condensing liquid. Lin Yi waved his hand and sent Wang Ba to the casting pool to cast the rough embryo of the furnace. The refining materials needed for this kind of furnace were not high, so it was enough for him to work for a while. After chatting with Han Jingjing for a while, Lin Yi took out 2 storage bags and handed them to Tianchan and Sydney. He asked them to take some of the goods back. Han Jingjing's storage ring had her own divine sense mark, so others could not open it. If she did not return to Middle Island, the ring would be useless. The storage bag did not have a large space, so the goods that could be taken were limited. However, Tianchan and Sydney were still very happy. Han Jingjing felt that she should bring forward the research on making storage rings. By then, everyone would have storage equipment with a large space, so it would be convenient for them to come and go. Chapter 61-35. As soon as Lin Yi arrived at the entrance of the pill hall, Li Zhaoyi quickly walked out to greet him. She had probably waited for a long time, and her eagerness was evident. Lin Yi, have you finished your business? Can we go now? Li Zhaoyi didn't avoid the disciples at the entrance of the pill hall. They didn't know what she was talking about anyway. Yes, are you ready? Lin Yi nodded, but he felt that his question was a little redundant. Looking at Li Zhaoyi's expression, he knew that she had already prepared everything. Sure enough, Li Zhaoyi smiled. Of course, I'm waiting for you. After she finished speaking, she casually took out an exquisite whistle and blew into it. The clear sound of the whistle rang out, and a flying spiritual beast with a wingspan of over 10 meters immediately flew over from the back of the pill hall and landed steadily on the street in front of the door. In the central area of Middle Island, flying spiritual beasts were basically forbidden, but this was only for ordinary cultivators and foreign cultivators. The top forces were not in this category, and the pill hall was naturally one of the top forces. Are we going on a flying spiritual beast? Lin Yi originally wanted to say that his flying saucer would be faster, but Li Zhaoyi had already arranged everything, so the flying saucer would be a backup choice. Yes, I heard that you've been there on a flying spiritual beast before. There should be no problem this time, right? Li Zhaoyi said as she boarded the flying spiritual beast and called Lin Yi to hurry up. The disciples at the door were a little stunned. Master Li Zhaoyi used to give people the impression that he was very aloof and arrogant. Although he wasn't the kind of person who kept people 1,000 miles away, it was indeed difficult to get close to him. What was going on today? Not only was he talking and laughing, but he even took the initiative to invite others to ride on a flying spiritual beast. Who was that guy? How could he be so favored by Master Li Zhaoyi? Well, in fact, some of them knew Lin Yi and knew that he was one of the few alchemy masters in Middle Island. Speaking of which, he was similar to Li Zhaoyi. They were both alchemy geniuses, so they became friends. Naturally, Lin Yi didn't know what the disciple at the door was thinking. He nodded and got on the flying spirit beast. After they took off, he casually asked, "Little junior sister, how did you know that I rode a flying spirit beast to the South Continent before? Your heroic deeds have spread far and wide. I just need to ask around a little to find out." Li Zhaoyi smiled faintly. Lin Yi, however, felt that this strange girl was clearly talking nonsense. Perhaps many people knew that he was going to the South Continent, but not many people knew that he was going to the South Continent on a flying spirit beast. However, it didn't matter. It wasn't a secret, and she knew it. Flying in the air with Li Zhaoyi to the South Continent, Lin Yi couldn't help but think of Huang Xiaotao. He wondered how she was doing now. Last time, the two of them flew to the South Continent like this. At that time, they had just broken through to the early stage of Gold Core, and their divine senses were not very strong. Now that they thought about it, they were really lucky to arrive safely. Lin Yi, you have the route map and compass to the South Continent, don't you? If not, I have prepared it here. Do you want to take a look? Looking at the vast and endless sea in front of her, Li Zhaoyi suddenly became a little worried. This was the first time she had flown so far away, so she couldn't help but ask Lin Yi, wanting to find some sense of security from his words. No, my route map and compass from last time are still here. With the speed of this flying spirit beast, if everything goes well, we can reach the Weiqian Sea in about 6 or 7 days. Lin Yi woke up from his memories and said casually. Then he smiled faintly, "Junior sister, shouldn't you call me senior brother? It's fine when there are outsiders here, but it's only the two of us. Isn't it inappropriate to call my name so directly? Whether it's senior brother or not, we'll talk about it after I see Master." Li Zhaoyi snorted lightly and turned her head proudly, ignoring Lin Yi. However, talking to Lin Yi made her feel a lot more relaxed. When will the rest of the people from the pill hall set off? Lin Yi smiled faintly and didn't argue with her. Instead, he asked about the competitors this time. Actually, it was mainly the people from the Zheng family. This time they were going to explore the ruins obediently. It was fine if everyone competed fairly, but if they still caused trouble with Lin Yi all day, they would really be courting death. Even the pill hall couldn't protect their reputation. They will probably set off tomorrow or the day after. This group of cowards is afraid of getting lost in the sea fog, so they are going to take a treasure ship to the South Continent. If we are faster, we might be able to finish exploring the ruins before they arrive. Li Xiaoyi's face was full of disdain. The reason why she was unwilling to move with the people from the pill hall, other than the few people from the Zheng family, was mainly because of this. Going out to explore but being afraid of danger and being overcautious, wasn't it better to stay at home and cultivate in seclusion? Running out to make a fool of yourself. Whether it was cultivation or alchemy, opportunities were extremely important. Without opportunities, there was naturally nothing to say. However, if you didn't work hard to grasp opportunities and couldn't improve yourself, then you deserved it. If it could really be so fast, why didn't you say 10 or 20 days when you came to find me? Why did you say 1 or 2 months? Lin Yi shook his head and muttered in a low voice. Without waiting for Li Xiaoyi to refute, he continued to ask, "Where exactly is the ancient alchemist's ruins? Don't tell me it's on the South Island." Li Xiaoyi turned around and looked at Lin Yi as if she was looking at an idiot. After a while, she said lightly, "The South Island has been the world of the spirit beasts since ancient times, and the spirit beasts have the lowest demand for elixirs. Which alchemist do you think would be so idiotic as to go to the spirit beast territory to open up his own cave abode?" Lin Yi was speechless. This was very reasonable and he actually had nothing to say. However, after saying so much, could she tell him the specific location? After a slight pause, a trace of embarrassment flashed in Li Xiaoyi's eyes, but her pretty face still remained expressionless. "It's not convenient to tell you the specific location now. When we reach the South Continent, you will naturally know." "If you say so, can I assume that you actually don't know where the ruins are?" Lin Yi looked at Li Xiaoyi suspiciously. This weird girl was really weird. Could it be that she really didn't know and planned to slowly look for clues in the South Continent? How is that possible? Do you think I'm very idle? Of course, I go only because I know the specific location. Li Xiaoyi raised her decibel a little, but in Lin Yi's view, it was a performance of being fierce in appearance but weak in heart. If you know, just say it. Otherwise, I don't even know the location. I don't want to take unnecessary risks. Lin Yi smiled slightly. Although it was a little shameless to scare her like this, he could only use strange methods to deal with this weird girl. Chapter 6136. Lin Yi pricked up his ears and pretended to be listening attentively. "I really don't know the specific location yet, but it will be displayed when we reach South Continent." Li Xiaoyi was a little guilty. She said that, but she couldn't guarantee whether it would really be displayed when the time came. Where will it be displayed? Lin Yi looked as if he had expected it. He stretched out his hand in front of Li Xiaoyi and motioned for her to take out the thing to have a look. Li Xiaoyi pouted slightly and reluctantly took out a palm-sized jade plate. It was blank and there was nothing on it. "What is this?" Lin Yi took it and looked at it. He even used his divine sense to penetrate into it, but he didn't find anything useful. Li Xiaoyi's eyes wandered. She looked left and right but didn't look at Lin Yi. Finally, she felt uncomfortable being stared at by him and finally said, "This is the location plate of the relic. As long as we reach the South Continent Sea, it will display the specific location of the relic. Don't think that there is nothing on it now, but it will naturally display the sea map of South Continent." "Then why are you so sure that the relic is not on the South Island?" Lin Yi was speechless. He originally thought that Li Xiaoyi, this weird girl, was at most a little weird. He didn't expect her to be so unreliable. "Didn't I say it before? Who would go to the territory of the spirit beasts to build a cave abode?" Li Xiaoyi argued boldly. Lin Yi couldn't be bothered to argue with her, so he waved his hand and let it go. "What is the effective range of this location plate? The entire South Continent Sea? Or is it only a small sea area such as the Y-Arc Sea area, Jinduan Sea area, and so on? Or even smaller, only the size of a city?" Lin Yi felt that Li Xiaoyi was a little unreliable, so he had to figure out this key point first. Li Xiaoyi paused and her eyes began to wander again. Lin Yi sighed softly. Well, it was clear without asking. This unreliable weird girl couldn't figure out the range at all. Was her plan to take out the location plate and fly around the entire sea area until the information was displayed? Junior sister. Now I know that 1 or 2 months was definitely an underestimation. If there was a problem with the compass, let alone 1 or 2 months, it would take 1 or 2 years to find the place. Do the other people in the pill hall also have this kind of compass? Linny slapped his forehead. He wondered if this kind of compass needed to be placed together for it to be effective. If that was really the case, he would have to find the Zheng clan's people to help him. Just thinking about it was quite annoying. Yes, they also have one, but according to the records, these two are exactly the same, so there's no difference between having 1 and 2. Li Zhaoyi finally heard a question that she could answer, and she couldn't help but feel a little happy. Linny heaved a sigh of relief. At least he didn't have to look for the Zheng clan to cooperate. Otherwise, he would really be afraid that he wouldn't be able to hold it in and would directly snatch it away. That would be too embarrassing for the Dan Hall. I'll believe you this time. Take the compass. Let's talk about the rest when we reach the South Continent. Linny handed the jade plate back to Li Zhaoyi. He didn't have much hope for this relic search. It was better to do what Shanghai Tianhua asked him to do first and then accompany her to look for it. Li Zhaoyi probably felt that she was in the wrong. She put away the compass embarrassedly and didn't know what to say for a while, so the two of them fell into a long silence. In the first 1 or 2 days, there wouldn't be much sea fog, and the flying spiritual beasts could tell the direction by themselves. When they reached the area filled with sea fog, they would have to rely on Lin Yi to control and guide the way forward. Lin Yi, who had already experienced it once, was not worried about this. Now his strength was not comparable to that of the little early stage of the Gold Core realm. Even without the compass, his powerful divine sense could ensure that he wouldn't get lost. Since the two of them had nothing to say for a while, Lin Yi simply sat cross-legged on the back of the flying spiritual beast and began to cultivate. After getting the Xianhai soul-condensing liquid, he hadn't used it well. Taking advantage of the 1 or 2 days before entering the dense sea fog area, he was going to use a drop of the Xianhai soul-condensing liquid to try to strengthen his spirit. If his spirit could break through, his strength level would naturally rise. Once he entered the mountain opening period, he would be more confident in his trip to the South Continent. On the other side, on the 3rd day after Lin Yi left, Han Jingjing successfully made the first batch of automatic alchemy furnaces. After sending them to the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce in Zhongdao, they began to sell them in a high-profile manner. If the appearance of the automatic alchemy furnaces of the medicine sect caused a sensation in Zhongdao, then the automatic alchemy furnaces of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce directly ignited the enthusiasm of the entire Zhongdao. You want to refine pills but you're not an alchemist? It doesn't matter. As long as you're a cultivator and have enough true qi, you can fulfill your dream of being an alchemist. 4 pills below the 5th grade of yellow rank, you don't need an alchemist. All you need is the automatic alchemy furnaces of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. Everything is not a problem. This news almost spread throughout the entire Zhongdao at the speed of a single spark setting a prairie ablaze. In the blink of an eye, the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce was surrounded by a crazy crowd. Especially after seeing the live demonstration, no one could remain calm. What? The price of the automatic alchemy furnaces of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce is the same as that of the medicine sect? Are you kidding me? I'll pay double the price, give me one. Outside the Tiandan Pavilion, a late Gold Core realm cultivator was filled with righteous indignation and shouted loudly. Unfortunately, he couldn't squeeze in at all. It was useless even if he shouted himself hoarse. In front of him, there were many cultivators in the great perfection of the Gold Core realm and the nascent soul realm. If they couldn't squeeze in, who was he? You want to buy such an artifact with double the price? Get lost, pauper. I'll pay 5 times the price. A cultivator in the great perfection of the Gold Core realm directly reached out and pulled him away from behind, shouting at the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. For a moment, it seemed to have become the scene of an auction, and it was the craziest kind of auction. As long as Shangwani was willing, this batch of automatic alchemy furnaces could definitely be sold at a sky-high price. Although the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce and the medicine sect seemed to have similar things, with only a slight difference. One needed an alchemist while the other did not. But it was this slight difference that made the two completely different. Chapter 6137. When the cultivators who were blocked outside saw Shangwani come out to speak and no one could enter the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce, they gradually quietened down. However, the eagerness in their eyes would not dissipate no matter what. Thank you, everyone. I'll make it short so that I don't waste everyone's time. Shangwani smiled and was extremely satisfied. When he was the vice president of the Universal Chamber of Commerce, there was never such a glorious scene. Sure enough, leaving the Universal Chamber of Commerce and following Lin Yi was the best choice. First of all, the automatic alchemy furnace is a product that Tiandan Pavilion has developed and produced. Therefore, there will be sufficient supply in the future. You don't have to fight for it. The earlier you play with it, the later you buy it. In fact, there's not much difference. Shang Wani calmed himself down and gave everyone a reassurance to avoid any malicious incidents when they fought for the automatic alchemy furnace. There was a slight commotion in the crowd, but it subsided immediately. It did not affect Shang Wani's speech. Although the Heavenly Dan Pavilion's Chamber of Commerce had promised to provide a sufficient supply of automatic alchemy furnaces, everyone wanted to buy one first before doing anything else. Everything was just an empty promise. What if something unexpected happened and the Heavenly Dan Pavilion's Chamber of Commerce said that they had no way of supplying? Therefore they still had to fight for it. There was no need to be polite. Today we are selling the first batch of 20 automatic alchemy furnaces. We have already sold 2, so there are only 18 left. In other words, only 18 people here today can buy it. Those who can't buy it will have to wait for the second batch tomorrow. Here I would like to apologize to everyone. I'm really sorry. The production is limited. After the technological innovation, there might be a significant increase. Shang Wani looked regretful, but in fact he was smiling happily in his heart. It was a pity that he could not show it. He could only be happy secretly. The first batch that Han Jingjing had sent was indeed only 20. At first, Shang Wani felt that it was too little, but later on, he felt that these 20 would perhaps cause more people to fight over it than if he had directly put in 200. It was precisely because there were so few of them that they were even more precious. Even if they couldn't buy them immediately, it didn't matter if they had to wait in line. Shang Wani had never heard of hunger marketing, but what he was doing now was the essence of hunger marketing. As for the price, we are determined to maintain the original price. We will absolutely not raise the price. Also, we must state that the automatic alchemy furnace we sell will register the buyer's information. Within 30 days of sale, resale is prohibited. Within these 30 days, only the buyer can use it. If you want to resell it, you must wait until 30 days have passed. At that time, the restriction will be lifted and anyone can use it. Shang Wani truly admired Han Jingjing's genius. She could even consider such small details. In this way, it would completely prevent people from maliciously buying and then selling at a higher price. The 30-day restriction period was not a hindrance to those who actually bought it, but to those who wanted to resell it for a huge profit, it was a disaster. Since the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce sells automatic alchemy furnaces every day, who would wait 30 days to buy the one in your hands? At most, they would have to wait 2 more days. Lastly, after using our automatic alchemy furnace for a period of time, the internal components of the furnace need to be replaced. The cost isn't high, and buyers with registered information can enjoy a free replacement opportunity once a year. If you buy it from someone else and don't register, you won't have a free chance and will have to pay for it yourself. Shang Wani spared no effort to crack down on scalpers. With such a measure, those who wanted to sell it would probably consider it carefully. President Shang, these are not important. I just want to know, how are the 18 automatic alchemy furnaces sold today? Don't tell me that the ones in front of me can buy it directly? A cultivator who was closer to the middle asked loudly. His position was around the 20th place, and it would be the end of the day before it was his turn to start the next round. Of course, the ones in front of me will buy it first. First come, first served. It's a matter of course. If you want it, please come early tomorrow. The 2 cultivators in front of him shouted loudly. According to the order, he would be able to buy it today, so he had to firmly support this method. Otherwise, wouldn't it be a waste of this advantage? However, the people in the back were the majority after all. If they really bought it in order, who knew when it would be their turn? For a moment, the people in the back began to clamor, trying to fight for a chance for themselves. Shang Wani raised his hands and made a pressing gesture to signal the people below to be quiet. Then he smiled and said, "The friends in front of me will have some advantages, but the friends in the back can't be at a disadvantage. So we thought of a way. It can't be said to be perfect, but it can take care of most of our friends." "What is it? President Shang, just say it. I'm so anxious." Someone shouted, and it was echoed by a large number of people. Only the 18 people in front were very dissatisfied. Unfortunately, there were too many people in the back and it was useless no matter how dissatisfied they were. It's very simple. We'll use the method of drawing lots to decide the purchase quota today. Whether we can buy it or not depends on everyone's luck. Of course, the higher the rank, the higher the probability of getting it. As for the specific method, Please read the explanation of the rules here. Shang Wani stood to the side slightly, and two staff from the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce immediately spread out a large cotton cloth. A sharp-eyed and quick-witted person had already read the rules on it out loud. In the first round of drawing lots, the 3 people in front will draw lots first. 1 out of 3 will get it, and the 2 people who don't get it in the first round will draw lots together. 1 out of 5 will get it, and the 4 people who don't get it will be postponed to the 3rd round. They will draw lots together with the people in the 7th, 8th, and 9th round. 1 out of 7 will get it, and so on. There will be 2 more lots for each round, and the probability of winning will decrease accordingly. However, each person only has 3 chances to draw lots. Chapter 61:38. The only regret was that the number of people who could draw lots in a day was no more than 70 or 80. Those who were behind this number could only come early tomorrow. After the rules were announced, the voices of dissatisfaction suddenly decreased a lot. After all, they did have a chance, and it was better than directly following the order. If people who were behind 70 or 80 had objections, they would probably be embarrassed. After all, no one felt qualified to say that they wanted to buy the furnace. It was foreseeable that for a long time in the future, even if the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce was closed, there would be many people waiting in line in front of the door. There were even professions that specialized in lining up for benefits. Anyway, everyone was a practitioner, and it didn't matter if they meditated on the street for a few days. In the central area of Zhongdao, safety could also be guaranteed. After everyone was clear about this rule, Shang Wani announced the start of today's draw. No matter whether anyone had different opinions or not, the decision made by the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce would not be changed. Unhappy? See you later. The cultivators who had won the lottery were naturally ecstatic when they bought the automatic alchemy furnace. As for the people behind them, regardless of whether they had the chance or not, they were full of envy and jealousy. Those who had the chance to draw were rubbing their palms together, hoping that they could win the lottery. Those who didn't have the chance to draw the lottery were already planning to queue up overnight and fight for a good spot the next day. At the same time, they could find a few more people to help them queue up together. If all the people who signed the lottery were on their side, wouldn't they be able to win the lottery? It had to be said that when these people started to think carefully, they were really strong. In the medicine sect opposite the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce, Zheng Dongxing's face was livid. He walked back and forth in the room and couldn't help but drop something. Zheng Tianqing and Zheng Dongjue had set off for South State. The Tiandan Pavilion suddenly launched a new automatic alchemy furnace, and the medicine sect instantly became deserted. In fact, it was not correct to say that. There were still a lot of people in front of the door, but they had completely changed direction. The automatic alchemy furnace of the medicine sect was still in business. After all, the price and function were the same, and the alchemists who could condense the alchemy fire would mostly choose the automatic alchemy furnace of the medicine sect. The problem was how many alchemists were there in total in Zhongdao? How many ordinary practitioners were there? 1 to 100 was definitely more than 1 to 1,000. The famous medicine sect had already sold a lot of automatic alchemy furnaces, and the market for alchemists was almost saturated. After being attacked by the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce, their business naturally plummeted. No. This matter needs to be solved by the center. They take most of the profits and they can't just leave everything to the wind. I'll go look for them myself. Zheng Dongxing couldn't take it anymore, and finally decided to look for Kang Mingming to discuss a solution. Although Kang Mingming mainly contacted Zheng Tianqing before, after all, Zheng Dongxing had also talked with him, so it was reasonable for him to discuss with him this time. However, before Zheng Dongxing could go out, Kang Mingming secretly came to find him in a cloak. "Shopkeeper Kang, you came at the right time. I was just about to look for you." When Zheng Dongxing saw Kang Mingming, he was overjoyed. This meant that he was not the only one who was anxious about the automatic alchemy furnace of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce, and Kang Mingming was also anxious. "I knew you would look for me, so I came to you first." Kang Mingming waved his hand and sat down honestly as if he was the owner here, and motioned for Zheng Dongxing to sit down and talk. Zheng Dongxing didn't care about these trivial things. He quickly sat down and asked, "The automatic alchemy furnace of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce has nothing to do with you, right?" In terms of function, both sides were basically the same, and it was absolutely not a problem to say that they were of the same origin, so Zheng Dongxing asked this. If he didn't know that Kang Mingming also wanted to mess with Lin Yi, he would even guess that the automatic alchemy furnace of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce was also provided by the Central Chamber of Commerce. After all, in addition to the automatic alchemy furnace, there were many similar products sold by the Central Chamber of Commerce. Kong Mingming coughed slightly. Zheng Dongxing's guess was quite accurate. The automatic alchemy furnace of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce was indeed related to the automatic alchemy furnace of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce, but the relationship was not as Zheng Dongxing thought. Strictly speaking, the Central Chamber of Commerce was the one who copied other people's products. Now that the genuine one appeared, they directly destroyed the pirated one. What are you thinking? Of course it has nothing to do with us. Even if it has something to do with us, it is because they imitated us. Kong Mingming said shamelessly, and then stretched out his fingers to knock on the table a few times. Zheng Dongxing didn't know what Kong Mingming wanted to say, so he could only put on a posture of listening attentively, gesturing him to continue. Let's not talk about this for now. You immediately think of a way to get 1 or 2 automatic alchemy furnaces of the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce. I want to bring them back for research. As the genuine ones, we will definitely be able to figure out the key points very soon, and then we can target them specifically. Kong Mingming's words were dignified, but only he knew the truth. Zheng Dongxing didn't doubt him. After all, on the Heaven Stage Island, the automatic alchemy furnace of the Central Chamber of Commerce appeared first, so it was normal for him to think that the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce was imitating the Central Chamber of Commerce. Someone came to report that there are not many things in stock. The first batch is only 20, so it is not easy to get them. You see, they have already started to draw lots to decide the buyer, so it is useless for me to go and queue up now. Zheng Dongxing frowned slightly, and looked in the direction of the Tiandan Pavilion with embarrassment. That is why I asked you to think of a way to get one. Could it be that you can only think of queuing up to buy it? Swindle, kidnap, steal, rob, anything. You just need to hurry up and find what I want. Kong Xiaoming said confidently, as if this was something that Zheng Dongxing should do in the first place. There was even a hint of contempt in this guy's eyes, as if he thought that Zheng Dongxing should have done these things long ago, instead of waiting for him to instruct him. It was obviously opposite the Tiandan Pavilion, but he didn't know how to do such a basic thing. Didn't he know what it meant to know oneself and know the enemy, and be invincible in 100 battles? Zheng Dongxing was very depressed, but he had to admit that what Kong Mingming said was still somewhat fallacious. It was too difficult to get an automatic alchemy furnace through the formal way, and he didn't want to support the sales of the Tiandan Pavilion. Wasn't it just swindle, cheat, steal and rob? It seemed that everyone knew how to do it. I understand, I will arrange this matter. Zheng Dongxing nodded and immediately walked to the door. He called a disciple of the famous medicine sect and told him in a low voice to keep an eye on the gate and record all the people who drew lots. As long as they were not from big families or forces, they could be potential targets. Chapter 6139. After Zheng Dongxing arranged everything, Kong Mingming stood up and said faintly, "That's it for now. I will go back and wait for your news. I hope you can give me a reply as soon as possible." "Shopkeeper Kong, rest assured I will do my best," Zheng Dongxing said with some discomfort in his heart as he cupped his fist slightly. No matter what, he was also a distinguished senior alchemist. It would be strange if he was happy to be bossed around by a young boy like Kong Mingming. If it weren't for the Central Chamber of Commerce, he wouldn't have been able to tolerate this. Kong Mingming's face under the cloak flashed a trace of disdain. He did not even raise his hands, turned around and walked out directly, leaving Zheng Dongxing to maintain the posture of cupping his hands, with a slight anger in his eyes. No matter how unhappy he was, Zheng Dongxing couldn't show it. The cooperation between the Central Chamber of Commerce and the medicine sect was not an equal relationship from the beginning. He could only blame himself for being ignored by Kong Mingming. He still had to do what he should do. After half a day, the lottery for the Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce finally ended. Those who bought the automatic alchemy furnace were naturally overjoyed. Those who didn't could only blame their bad luck. Then they stood in the same place like a nail and refused to leave the gate of the Tiandan Pavilion even if they were beaten to death. Shamwani was also helpless. This was going to affect the sales of his other products. However, it would not make sense for him to chase everyone away. He could only make a compromise and create a queue in front of the door. Then he would give up the remaining space. At the very least, it would allow the customers to enter and exit the Heavenly Dan Pavilion. No one had any opinion on this. It was beneficial for everyone to be able to regulate the queue. Otherwise, if they rushed up in a mess, everyone would have no guarantee. The shop assistant from the famed medicine sect gave Zheng Dongxing a name list. On it were the names of the 5 lucky people who had bought an automatic alchemy furnace. They were all people without any background or foundation. It was pure luck that they were able to draw the lot. Because of the 30-day restriction period of Tiandan Pavilion, except for the medicine sect and the center, it was unlikely that these 5 people would be targeted. However, it could not be ruled out that some families or sects could not buy an automatic alchemy furnace, so they simply recruited them. Although their own strength was not very good, with an automatic alchemy furnace, it was equivalent to having a 5th-grade alchemist, which was very cost-effective. Jing Dongxing had already made arrangements. After getting the name list, he immediately sent people to contact the 5 lucky people. Swindling, bluffing, threatening, and enticing them, he used every means possible. With great difficulty, he obtained 2 of the automatic alchemy furnaces and quickly sent people to the Central Chamber of Commerce. However, before nightfall, a message came from Kang Mingming, asking Jing Dongxing to continue collecting the automatic alchemy furnaces of Tiandan Pavilion, and the cost would be deducted from the Central Chamber of Commerce's share. Jing Dongxing almost spat out a mouthful of blood. The Central Chamber of Commerce's share would be taken away every day. There was no new business at all. How could there be a cut? This little bastard was finding a way to squeeze him dry. In the central area of Middle Island, Jing Dongxing did not dare to do anything like stealing and robbing, so he paid a great price for the 2 automatic alchemy furnaces. Now that Kang Mingming still wanted them, Jing Dongxing could only pinch his nose and send people to the opposite side in disguise. If they could buy a position in front, it would be okay. It was much less than the cost after the fact. The reason why the center continued to ask for the automatic alchemy furnaces of Tiandan Pavilion was that 2 were not enough. After getting them, the technicians of the center prepared to dismantle one first and reverse deduce the structure of the automatic alchemy furnace. However, just as they removed a panel, the most high-tech control device made a soft sound, and wisps of green smoke floated up. The magical automatic alchemy furnace became an ordinary alchemy furnace. Miss Luan, the automatic alchemy furnace of Tiandan Pavilion Chamber of Commerce has an anti-dismantling device. Our technological strength is not enough to crack it. Why don't we teleport back to the secular world and let the people there dismantle it? The technicians reported expressionlessly. Their main research direction was biological genes. Pure electronic technology was indeed not comparable to that of the secular world. Yuan Xiaoru did not think much about it and agreed with his proposal. The remaining one was sent to the wormhole to be teleported to the secular world. However, this automatic alchemy furnace could not be teleported at all. It was only decomposed into particles at the entrance of the wormhole. Then, it was forcibly reorganized and thrown back. Everyone stared at this lump of metal dumbfounded. How could they still see the appearance of an automatic alchemy furnace? Since the wormhole was open, such a thing had never happened. It was really unbelievable. After receiving the notice, Yuan Xiaoru personally rushed to the entrance of the wormhole. When she saw the lump of metal, her expression was extremely solemn. That little girl Han Jingjing's research on wormholes has reached such a level. Not only can she destroy teleportation, but she can even forcibly interfere with the reorganization of objects. Her existence is already our biggest trouble. Yuan Xiaoru sighed softly and shook her head slightly. Han Jingjing's technological ability had already exceeded the control of the center. Automatic alchemy furnaces were just small tricks. It did not matter how well they sold. However, the wormhole was different. Yuan Xiaoru was even considering whether to kill Han Jingjing at all costs. Unfortunately, she also knew that killing Han Jingjing was basically no different from killing Lin Yi. It was really not a good idea to do it for the time being. Miss Luan, the medicine sect has sent 2 more automatic alchemy furnaces of Tiandan Pavilion. Should we continue to try teleportation? A technician from the center bowed and reported. He could see that Yuan Xiaoru was not in a good mood, so he did not dare to speak too loudly. Without cracking the wormhole technology in the automatic alchemy furnace, do you think teleportation will work? Send them all for research. No matter how damaged they are, they must dismantle this automatic alchemy furnace. Yuan Xiaoru ordered coldly and then turned to leave. Regarding Han Jingjing's matter, she still had to think about how to deal with it. As for the medicine sect, they were just a small role anyway. Let them fend for themselves. The miserable Jing Dongxing did not know that he was no different from a speck of dust in the eyes of the center. However, when he received a notice that more automatic alchemy furnaces of Tiandan Pavilion were needed, he really wanted to die. If others knew that the competitor, the medicine sect, had repeatedly bought the products of Tiandan Pavilion, it was almost time to take down the brand of the medicine sect and burn it. In contrast, the money lost in the purchase process was not a big deal. When Nakajima fell into the frenzy of buying automatic alchemy furnaces, The flying spirit beast that Lin Yi and Li Zhaoyi rode had been flying in the thick sea fog for 2 days. Chapter 6140. Under the influence of the sea fog, an ordinary person's divine sense was almost the same as the range of vision, and the range of vision in the sea fog was at most 3 to 5 meters in front of them. However, Lin Yi was not in this category at all. In fact, the strength of Li Zhaoyi's divine sense was also very strong, but it was much worse than Lin Yi's, so most of the risks that had been avoided were not felt by her. Lin Yi, why has it been so peaceful along the way? We haven't encountered any danger at all? It's completely different from the legends. We haven't lost our way, have we? After the initial awkwardness, the relationship between Li Zhaoyi and Lin Yi finally returned to normal, and they spoke much more casually. Why do you want to encounter any danger? No problem, I'll fulfill your wish immediately. Lin Yi smiled faintly. This strange girl really had nothing better to do. Wouldn't it be better to travel safely? You know that's not what I mean. Li Zhaoyi turned her head and gave Lin Yi a dirty look. After the two became familiar with each other, her expression was also much richer, no longer the cold poker face that she had when they first met. Don't worry, the direction is correct. In 2 days at most, we can reach the periphery of the Wuxia Sea in the southern continent. I hope your directional disc can be used there. Lin Yi looked at Li Zhaoyi playfully. If the jade disc could be used in the Wuxia Sea, it would save him a lot of trouble. However, this kind of heaven-defying luck was probably unlikely to happen so easily, right? Li Zhaoyi's pretty face blushed slightly. She felt a little guilty at the mention of this matter, so she could only snort softly and deliberately turn her head to raise her chin, pretending to be arrogant and disdainful to avoid this topic. Lin Yi smiled faintly. He did not continue to speak, but controlled the flying spirit beast to slightly adjust the angle of its advance. In his divine sense, there was a flying ferocious bird circling in the sea fog 5 miles away. Originally he could have avoided it, but since Li Zhaoyi felt that there was no danger and was bored, he decided to find it to relieve his boredom. From the aura emitted by the flying ferocious bird, it could be judged that its strength was not strong. It should have just broken through to the early stage of the profound ascension stage, and it would not be a problem to say that it was slightly stronger than the great perfection of the nascent soul stage. For ordinary cultivators, it was an extremely dangerous existence, especially in this kind of sea mist, where it would naturally have an attribute increase. But in the eyes of Lin Yi, even if it was at the early stage of the mountain opening stage, it was not a big deal, let alone a mere early stage of the profound ascension stage. After getting a little closer, Li Zhaoyi also sensed the existence of the flying beast. Turning his head, he said in surprise, "There's a flying beast in front of us. You didn't fly over on purpose, did you? Little junior sister is really smart. I want to see how the fighting power of this kind of flying ferocious bird that lives in the sea mist is. If we encounter one with the same strength as us, should we run away or try to fight?" Lin Yi said nonsense with a serious face. If he said that he found the flying ferocious bird because he saw that she had nothing to do and wanted to find something for her to do, maybe Li Zhaoyi would kick him off the flying spirit beast. Li Zhaoyi looked at Lin Yi suspiciously. She always felt that these words were not very credible, but it sounded somewhat reasonable. She couldn't find a reason to refute it. Before she could figure it out, the flying ferocious bird had already discovered the approaching flying spirit beast. It immediately flapped its wings and silently pierced through the sea mist. It drew a perfect arc in the sky as it prepared to launch a sneak attack from the side. Unfortunately, Lin Yi and Li Zhaoyi's divine sense could ignore the obstruction of the sea mist. The sneak attack of this flying ferocious bird looked like a joke. It's quite cunning. Little junior sister, why don't you try to deal with it first? Lin Yi smiled faintly and suggested calmly. On the surface, Li Zhaoyi and the flying ferocious bird were evenly matched. However, considering that the fighting power of the flying ferocious bird was stronger than that of a human cultivator of the same level, and that they were in a special environment like the sea mist, its real fighting power was 1 or 2 levels higher than what it looked like on the surface. Li Zhaoyi was a little eager to try, but after hearing what Lin Yi said, she was a little reluctant. Why should I try just because you told me to? I'm not interested. You go get rid of it and we'll hurry on our way. Li Zhaoyi's tsundere personality flared up. She turned her head to the side and said coldly with a pout. Well, since you're not interested, forget it. Lin Yi shrugged, and when the flying ferocious bird approached, he casually shot out a lightning arc. With a slight crackling sound, the flying ferocious bird, which thought that it was moving as stealthy as a ghost, was caught off guard and hit the lightning arc head-on. Then its whole body turned black and smoked, and it fell down with a shrill scream. Although Lin Yi did not kill it before the numbness caused by the lightning arc disappeared, it would definitely fall into the sea. In this sea region filled with sea mist, there were powerful sea beasts everywhere. Without the strength of the mountain opening stage or even the earth opening stage, they were not even qualified to divide their territory. It could be foreseen that after the flying ferocious bird fell into the sea, it would meet a miserable end. Li Xiaoyi's face was very dismissive, but in fact she admired Lin Yi's strength very much. They were both young people and both had the title of genius, but whether it was strength or alchemy, he seemed to be able to firmly suppress her. With this guy accompanying her, Li Xiaoyi inexplicably felt at ease. There was a slight splash below, and the flying ferocious bird fell into the sea. It was unknown whether it could still fly alive. Lin Yi patted the flying spirit beast lightly and smiled, "Buddy, hurry up and get out of here lest you get besieged." As he spoke, Lin Yi's divine sense had already scanned that there were several flying ferocious birds surrounding them. They should be attracted by the cry of their companion who fell into the sea. There were high and low strengths, ranging from the early stage of nascent soul stage to the great perfection of profound ascension stage. It was no wonder that this sea mist was regarded as a natural moat. Once the flying spirit beast was lost in the sea mist, sooner or later, it would become the meal of these flying ferocious birds. Lin Yi was a little scared when he thought about it now. At that time he and Huang Xiaotao were really ignorant and fearless. They were able to pass through safely. Their luck was simply invincible. After hearing Lin Yi's words, the flying spirit beast of Dan Hall flapped its wings, and its speed increased by 2 times again, rolling up the thick sea mist around it. Following the guidance of Lin Yi, it flashed through the gap of the encirclement that was about to close. "Lin Yi, my compass has failed." Li Xiaoyi didn't know whether Lin Yi was flying in the right direction, so she took out the sea chart compass to check the route, but found that they had entered the magnetic field area of the sea mist. The pointer on the compass was spinning randomly, and it couldn't indicate the direction at all. Chapter 6141. Li Xiaoyi's slightly flustered mood suddenly calmed down. Sure enough, asking Lin Yi to go to the South Continent with her was the right choice. His calm and collected look was easy to infect her. As long as he was there, it seemed that any problem could be easily solved. Suddenly, Li Xiaoyi's heart was inexplicably flustered again, but this time it was completely different from before, because she found that she seemed to have unknowingly developed an inexplicable sense of dependence on Lin Yi, which suddenly made her feel a little overwhelmed. Lin Yi did not notice Li Xiaoyi's sudden silence, only thinking that she was still worried about the failure of the compass. Anyway, there had been this kind of cold situation between the two from time to time these days, so he did not doubt it at all. The last time he went to the South Continent with Huang Xiaotao, they did not encounter a situation where the magnetic field was chaotic. Lin Yi said that it was okay, but in fact his heart was a little heavy. Fortunately, his divine sense was still effective, and he finally passed through this area without any danger. For the rest of the way, Li Xiaoyi was even more silent than before, as if she had returned to her cold temperament when they first met. Lin Yi took the initiative to speak several times, but he did not get any decent answer, so he simply hurried on with his journey. After more than a day they finally flew out of the thick sea fog area, and there was a feeling of sudden clarity in their divine sense and vision. "We are very close to the Wayark waters. Look at those black spots in the distant sky, they are the flying spirit beasts ridden by the cultivators of the Wayark waters." Lin Yi stretched out his hand and pointed into the distance. For more than a day the two had not spoken much. Now that they were in the South Continent, was she still not going to speak? This weird girl was really weird, falling into such a low mood for no reason at all. Lin Yi really didn't know what was going on. "Well, we are finally in the South Continent." Li Xiaoyi sighed softly and no one knew what she meant. Fortunately, she was finally willing to speak, and it seemed that she had returned to normal. In fact, Li Xiaoyi herself did not understand her own thoughts. After leaving the thick fog area and coming to the Wayark waters, their time alone was almost over. She seemed to feel a little relaxed in her heart, but also very disappointed. Before Li Xiaoyi could sort out her thoughts, 7 or 8 black dots in the distance seemed to have discovered them and were flying towards them. Lin Yi scanned them with his divine sense and didn't pay too much attention to them. They were all mystic ascension and nascent soul stage and could be categorized as non-threatening. The only thing that surprised him was that on top of these flying spirit beasts, only the one at the front was a human practitioner, and the ones behind were all spirit beasts in human form. It was no wonder that he could meet so many masters before entering the Wayark Sea. When he came to the Wayark Sea, the nascent soul stage was already a great master, and the profound ascending stage was even more powerful. But now, because of the intervention of the spirit beasts, the former great masters had become ordinary people. Lin Yi, those flying spirit beasts seem to be coming for us. Li Zhaoyi calmed herself down and said calmly. Although there were a few who were stronger than her, she was not worried about any danger at all. Maybe they are here to welcome us? Lin Yi smiled faintly. Of course this was nonsense. The Wayark Sea had never had the habit of welcoming outsiders, but there was no shortage of robberies. Come to think of it, the first time Lin Yi and Huang Xiaotao had come to the Wayark waters, that idiot Qing Keqian had stopped them and caused them trouble. So, seeing the flying spirit beast in the distance, Lin Yi immediately felt a sense of familiarity. Li Zhaoyi turned around and glared at Lin Yi. Although she had never been to the South Continent, she would not be naive to think that someone would really come to welcome her. The speed of the flying spirit beasts on both sides was extremely fast, plus they were opposite each other. In a breath, they had already closed the distance visible to the naked eye. Without using his divine sense, Lin Yi could clearly see that on the flying spirit beast at the front was a very young fellow at the peak of the middle stage of the nascent soul realm. In Lin Yi's eyes this was nothing, but if he was in the South Continent in the past, he would definitely be an overlord. This fellow was not seen in the competition of the 5 major escort agencies last time. Could it be that he was a rising star who had recently emerged? To be able to lead a group of powerful spirit beast experts, he could be considered to have some ability. As for the spirit beasts at the back, there was no need to ask to know that they were from the spirit beast clan. Even the periphery of the Wayark Sea at the edge of the South Continent had their experts. It seemed that the spirit beast clan's control over the South Continent had reached a very high level. Hey! Stop for this young master. The young man at the front flew closer and shouted at Lin Yi and Huang Xiaotao. The flying spirit beast on their side stopped in the air first. Lin Yi did not want to pay attention to them, but since they blocked his way, he might as well ask them about the situation in the Wayark Sea. Who are you? I've never seen you before. Don't tell me you came from the sea mist. The young man's eyes lit up when he saw Li Zhaoyi's peerless beauty. He asked casually, but his eyes never left Li Zhaoyi. Li Zhaoyi frowned slightly and glanced at him in disgust. She pulled a long face and showed no interest in talking. Lin Yi smiled faintly. We're from the Zhenduan Sea. We lost our way and came here. This must be the Wayark Sea, right? May I know how to address you? So you're from the Zhenduan Sea. You're lucky to have gotten lost here. The young man waved his hand carelessly. He did not even look at Lin Yi. Instead, he continued to stare at Li Zhaoyi and smiled wickedly. This chick is quite good looking. The rarest thing is that she's very powerful. She happens to be the cauldron that Master needs. If we take her back, he'll definitely be satisfied. This trip wasn't in vain. When the time comes, I'll be able to drink a few mouthfuls of soup. Go capture her. One of the spirit beast experts behind him nodded. Don't worry, young Master Lu. She won't be able to escape. Before he finished speaking, the spirit beast released his aura. With a light tap of his feet, he flew directly from the back of the flying spirit beast. He bent his right hand into a dragon claw and grabbed Li Zhaoyi's arm at lightning speed. You're just at the peak of the early stage of mysterious ascension. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? Lin Yi snorted coldly. He flashed in front of Li Zhaoyi and threw a simple punch. Violent chi surged towards the opponent's claw and collided with it in the air. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.